How's it going, people? Welcome to Lee Judges TV. I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I'm with Mr. Lee Judges. We're here tonight, and we are going to be inviting some amazing guests on. All Arsenal fans, all up to date with what's happening with this amazing football club, or one that at least used to be an amazing football club, but not so much of late. We're going to get into the weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about all of the games, and then we're going to invite the guests on to have their say. Lee, first of all, how are you, mate?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you very much. Sorry about the delay, everybody, but technical issues today with Dave. You know what I mean? So definitely technical issues, or he got a bit of lamb stuck down his throat. I don't know, one or the other, with his salad. So we'll have to. Who knows? Who knows? I'll tell you what. I've had a good weekend, Dan. I'll tell you why. Patrick Vieira, my favourite Arsenal player, done the business on Saturday morning. That was very, very good. Obviously, then the Arsenal getting a much needed 3 points. Then I had a little drink down the pub after the game. Always nice to do that after a win. Got back just in time for Emma to win the US Open, which was fantastic. It's all been a little bit sport because I was just watching the Arsenal ladies winning today 4-0. And then I've just seen Spurs ladies just win at Man City. And do you know what? I got the hump about it. It was a definite handball. And then I got the hump about it because I don't really care about Spurs women, but it's just the word Spurs. It just grates me, Dan. It grates me, But other than that, it's been a great weekend.
Do you know what, though? Listen, well, let's just touch quickly before we go into Arsenal on that Spurs Palace game, because Palace absolutely battered them, mate. And I've got to say, I ain't seen the incident with the red card back, to be honest. But what I have seen is a team that already look like they have a little bit of a style under Patrick Vieira, and Edouard, a player I was crying out for Arsenal to sign, has done the business, Lee, and it always makes the game better, doesn't it, when Spurs lose? You always look forward to the Arsenal game. Obviously, when you win, it's even better, but it gets you up for the game more, doesn't it, when Spurs lose? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I just enjoyed it because they've been, very, very quiet. My football group with my vets team and that, giving it. All of a sudden, is everybody watching the tennis today? I went, hold on a minute, what was the result today? Didn't want to know about that. So it's always good that they lose, especially with Patrick Vieira in charge as well. But I'm going to just touch on a little thing. We moan about Mikel Arteta and what he does at times, and I think it's just a manager's thing because their right back, who got sent off yesterday, has been their best player.
Tanganga, yeah,
Tanganga's been their best player. So he's played really well. They've won 3 games, they haven't conceded a goal. So what do? They put him in at centre half and put in their new right back. All against Zaha, all goes wrong. A manager trying to cater, trying to do things, and I don't get it. But, I'm glad that he did. So it's not just Mikel Arteta that makes mistakes. Experienced managers do it as well.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. And I think that, I was pretty harsh on Crystal Palace, and I thought Patrick Vieira was going to have a really difficult job, to be honest. But do you know what? I hope that he does well because obviously he's a legend at the club, and I hope that he picks it up because I think Crystal Palace lost pretty much all their players, kept Zaha, of course, but they lost a lot. And I thought to myself, this is going to be really difficult. This is going to be who's going to get sacked first, Patrick Vieira or Mikel Arteta. Do you know what I mean? So I hope that things improve and continue to progress with Patrick Vieira. But let's move on to Arsenal, mate. Yesterday's result was a win. We must be happy about that. We must be positive that we've taken 3 points. We got to see some new players, Lee, which is always a bonus to see how they do. But for me, I don't know what you think. I thought was a little underwhelming in terms of the performance because it's always about the performance for me. It's never just about the results because it's how you win games. And although we did create some chances, I don't think there was anything massively clear cut. We had 30 shots, but most of them didn't really hit the goal. So I think the Aubameyang chance in the first half, I think he should have done better. Obviously, he did score the goal, which was created by Pepe, which we'll come on to in a minute. But what was your overall thoughts, Lee, on the actual performance itself? Was it as frustrating as I thought it was, or was you quite impressed with some of the play?
No, well, listen, wasn't impressed, but I've let it all digest down. Watched the highlights yesterday, and that first things first. superb. The fans yesterday, the home fans from throughout that game were absolutely different class. The atmosphere was there. The fans got behind them from minute one to the end. That was what I wanted to see. I said that before on a podcast that we needed to get. So there was no excuses that the fans are toxic or whatever, and it was a bad atmosphere. It's hard to play. Every one of those supporters that went through those turnstiles, give it there. It was a great atmosphere. There was a time when the game was dull, it was low, and they got behind them. So that's the first thing there. I'll go on to the performance and the result. I've seen Arsenal play really, really well and lose. So I look at it and I would rather, when you say about performance, I'd rather we win the game than have a fantastic performance and lose. I've looked back on it and have a chat to a few people. Yeah, maybe there was a little bit of nerves in there, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of this. Maybe it was never going to be a pretty game for us. It was just about getting ourselves over the line, which is what we've done. Was it pretty? No, it wasn't. Was there performances that were worrying for me? There were. I think that defensively we looked good. Tommy Tomiyasu looks very, very good at right back. I thought he was superb for 60 minutes. I think, looking at it, probably paid him for 60 minutes because he's only just come into the team and whatever. But yeah, looked promising. Looked very, very promising. Game changed for me when Partey and Smith Rowe come in there. He has got to find a way of getting Smith Rowe into the team. I don't know where that is, but that's for me for it there. I felt that the front three. And I'm going to say this now: Saka, Pepe, and Aubameyang. I didn't think weren't that great, and probably the reason being, I think it's the way that the team's set up. I don't think they're allowed to express themselves. I really don't, Dan. I really feel that they're sort of put into. I don't know. The system just seems that they've got to just. It takes away their flair. They can't go and express themselves. I think we should set up a team, make it solid, and just say to those front three, right, just do your thing. But they seem to be having to get back into shape, get back, do this, do that. I get it in the last 10 minutes that you may have to do that, but for the majority of the game, particularly at home, when you've got midfielders that are not bombing forward like Smith Rowe or somebody like that, Odegaard was neat and tidy, but wasn't. Bombing on, was he, and leaving the gate open. So I felt that, if you're going to play sort of back four, 6 players back, you can allow the 3 players to express themselves a little bit. And they didn't. I know we're going to disagree with this. I thought Pepe was poor on the day. I thought, yes, he created the goal with the chance. I thought I watched his chance before the one that come across the goal. He's very, very lethargic in his play at times, and for a player with so much talent, he should do more. That's my argument with him. I forget about.
Well, let's talk a bit about it because I want to get my point across as well about Pepe. So let's bring it up now, seeing as you brought it right. So this is what I see with Pepe. I don't see a £72 million player. So let's get that right. No. He's never been that. He's never been that for me. He's always been. I think if we would have spent 30 million on him, everyone would have said, "Oh, he looks half decent." But when he's not in the team league, who else is going to be a threat at scoring goals? I don't see anyone else being a threat.
No,
Saka's
I agree with that. I agree with that. He's probably out. That just shows you how bad our front three are. Then, if he's our main threat in there, I just think that yesterday he flattered to deceive. I like Pepe. I'm not going to go too much overboard with him and everything like that because I think that I say this now, and I'm not having a go at him when I say this. Yes, I totally agree. He's not a £72 million player. I just think he's got more. He's got so much ability that I think that he underachieves with the ability that he's got. And yesterday, I just felt that And listen, I don't want to go too overboard about it because wingers are like that. Back in the day when we played, the wingers they're a little bit hit and miss. But ultimately, do you know what? I sat there yesterday. And I watched Zaha, and then I watched him. There's my argument.
And I think the only thing I'll come back at you with that, Lee, because I like Zaha, and I did want Zaha at Arsenal a few years ago. But the numbers between Zaha and Pepe actually is better. So in terms of goal contributions and assists, etc., over the last couple of seasons, or since we bought Pepe, right? It's not like outstanding, I don't think, and I wouldn't know without looking what they actually are. But from what I was aware of, he is playing better numbers-wise than Zaha. So My question is this: is this manager mismanaging Nicolas Pepe? And the reason I say that is because this inverted fullback situation that he seems to be obsessed with is allowing Pepe to be isolated on the right hand side or on the wing. I want him close to goalie. I don't want him out on the wing, so he's got to cut inside, which is predictable, by the way. I like Pepe on the left, prefer him on the left. I think Saka gives us more balance on the right. I mean, Saka's position probably is left wing, but I think he's probably, for the team at the moment, he's better on the right. And Pepe on the left, when he was playing there in the last few games of last season, he was banging him in all the time. He was our biggest goal threat. So I'm a big fan of his. He does frustrate me, like he does all Arsenal fans. I thought his touch yesterday was pretty poor at times. But I do look at the guy and think, you are one of the most threatening players. And if it wasn't for Pepe, you do know we would have drew 0-0 yesterday. So that's what I look at. I think he hit the post, he created that chance, Aubameyang was there to tap it in. I just think the guy gets a little bit of harsh critics when I see a lot more other players that deserve more criticism than Pepe gets, because the numbers don't lie, Lee. He does produce goals for us. So I like the player, and I think that if we saw a manager who played a style which allows players to express himself and show some flair, which you've mentioned previously and touched on, I think if we saw a system out for Nicolas Pepe, watch him shine and watch him score goals. And I would love to see that, mate, because I think there's a talent there.
I agree, and I think that one of the if I was an owner or something like that, one of my first things would be to say, right, I've spent this money on this guy, make him the player that he should be, like, you know, and that's the way it is, like, you know. I don't like to compare numbers and stats with different teams, because when you're playing for Crystal Palace or you're playing for Arsenal, it's different things, you know. What I will say is that, you know, I think it's a little bit of both. I really do. I think that when you I'm not trying to stick up for Pepe in any shape or form. I think that if you've got a manager, you know, that you can trust, that trusts you and rates you, I think that makes you play. I've got this feeling that Pepe, like me, feels that Arteta doesn't rate him or doesn't trust him, and I think that that's the problem. And I watched him yesterday, and I do think that he is a dangerous player for us. I don't think that, you know, at times he should be playing out on the right hand side. I think that, you know, he should be allowed to do what he wants at times. Go over to the left hand side, try and attack down the left hand side. He seems to be pinned into this same sort of position every time. One of the greatest points that you've always made, he has different right backs every week, which he has. There's another right back that he's had, again, a different right back. I think he's had 3 right backs or 4 right. I think he didn't play in the last game at City, did he? But like in the 3 games that he's played under 3 different right backs. So I feel there is a little bit like that. I just think that, like everybody at Arsenal, and you can go from central defenders to whatever, has Pepe improved enough? And I don't think that he has. I think that he's always going to be this flat and see. And what I want to see Pepe become is the number 1 player. And I think that he's like a backup to this. He's a co-star, isn't he? Like, do you know what I mean? He's not the main man. And I think that, you know, is he ever going to be the main man? And that's my problem. Like, you know, and when I look at, you can say that he created the goal with his when he hit the post. In the first half, I didn't really think that he'd done a lot. I think that he started to come into the game. And I'll be honest, when Partey came on, because again was getting the ball to him quicker, you know what I mean, so that he had a little bit of extra chances to go forward. I also think in the second half the game opened up a little bit, which suits him. And I also think that Smith Rowe coming on helped him. The one thing that I will say about Pepe and worry about him is that if the game, it may be that he has to become a substitute, because when the game opens up, then he can do his sort of stuff. And I don't want to see that, because when I look at his ability, I think to myself, come on, let's have a go on there. And I think the one point about Pepe and all that, I thought he had do you remember when we won the FA Cup? I thought he was sensational. I thought he was just starting to kick on then. What was his reward? His reward was Willian coming in and take his place. That's what I go on about trust.
Well, and listen, and there's two things to that. That's mismanaging players from the manager again. And as Mark Jerome's put in the chat, who has Arteta actually improved in this side? And no one can actually tell me a name of a player that looks a better player now because of this manager. So, listen, I am harsh on the manager. I don't like it. I think he's out of his depth, and we've got some issues there. However, let's go into some of the players yesterday, and let's concentrate on the players because there was some new ones. I want to start with an old one first, though, Lee Aubameyang. I thought he looked sharp, mate. I really did. I thought I actually have seen the last few games that Aubameyang's played. He looks a little bit more, not ready yet, but a little bit more like his own self. I think he's still definitely got pace. People that say that his pace has been dropped is just nonsense for me. He's definitely quick enough. He did fluff a couple of shots, to be fair to him, but I think he still looked pretty sharp and looked like he was up for it. And seeing him after the game smiling and happy and the fans chanting his name, it looked like we kind of had the old Aubameyang back. So what did you make of his performance, and do you think he can get better and better after that goal now, mate?
Well, listen, I thought he worked hard yesterday. He looks a lot sharper. I think he made a couple of positive runs yesterday, and listen, he was in and around for the chances. I think on another day he probably could have got 3 goals, and then you'd be turning around and going, "Oh, how great he was," and whatever, But he does miss. He does seem to be missing a few chances at the moment. I think at the end of the day, look, he done okay yesterday, and I don't think you should go too mad about his performance or worry about it too much. I felt that he worked very, very hard yesterday. I don't like some of the times when he shies away from tackles and puts his back, turns his back, and things like that. But that's just probably the player he is.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like to see that, but ultimately, look, he was in the right place for the right time for the goal. Listen, I think like the whole team, if Arsenal are going to start to do better, he needs to improve, and I think that he will do. Listen, as I say, I think yesterday, I think Thomas Partey is going to be. I was talking to someone today at football. He's getting fed up with him being injured all the time and starting to lose patience with him. And I get that, but if we can keep him fit. And it's an if at the moment, isn't it? But if we do, I think that Arsenal will be a lot better off because I watched him yesterday. I thought Maitland-Niles done really well in there, by the way. I also thought the Conga done very, very well in there. But when Partey came on, we went up a level. The grade is an upgrade on those two. And that's no criticism of them two players. And but we need him to stay fit. We need him to stay fit desperately. And then Mikel's got to get a partner for him.
Yeah, well, and that's another transfer window, isn't it? And that is another problem. But I do think he is probably our best player, Thomas Partey, and I've always thought he was. I think last season he had some injury problems. He was next to a different centre midfielder, whether it be El Neni, Ceballos, Xhaka, every week. He is definitely head and shoulders above everyone else in terms of his intelligence, how he was spraying the ball around, how comfortable he is on the ball, the way that he can actually win balls back. I think he's extremely important for this team moving forward. But it leads me nicely on to the lad I want to mention next, who I think's been our best player this season, Lokonga. Couldn't believe he was dropped against Man City. Came back in yesterday, always looking to pass the ball forward. Not a negative player at all. Wins the ball back well. Looks like he's learning every time I see him because there's been a couple of times where he's lost out on the ball, but he don't give up. He's got that resilience about him, Lee, and I think this is probably potentially our best signing this window. Would you agree?
Oh yes, I'm a big fan of his. I watched it every time that he's played. He's impressed me. And let's be honest, he's by far nowhere near ready to probably take the mantle at this moment in time. He's still learning his training and all that. What I do like about him, he's prepared to take the ball in difficult situations, right? Where if he loses it, we could be in trouble. Very, very comfortable on the ball. I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing of him. You know what I mean? So hopefully he'll progress. But this is the thing where you're going to. I don't see him getting too much game time. Then do you? Be honest.
Not when Granit Xhaka comes back with his manager, because his manager's in love with Granit Xhaka.
Honestly,
he's going to play alongside him, isn't he?
Back in. I've said it yesterday. Do you think that? I think
he will. Of course he will. Of course he will, and he'll get sent off again probably. So I look at that situation in the middle there with Partey and Lokonga, and I think that could work. But I don't think we're going to see it enough.
No, I don't think we're going to see it. I think Partey will come back in the next game. probably alongside. I don't know alongside. You know, like I just
I think it'll be Party and Lokonga against Burnley, but then I think as soon as Chaka's back against Tottenham, it'll be Chaka and Party. That's what I
yeah,
think. You know.
yeah.
So
I think it'll be. I think what'll happen is that yeah, I think that next week that'll probably be it. Then it'll be for the game against Wimbledon. It'll be a party will probably be left out, and it'll be Lokonga and
Maitland Niles.
Maitland Niles in there, like, and then yeah, then it'll be Shaka and
Mm.
I'll lay a lot of money on it. Then be Shaka
Yeah,
and
yeah, I would.
say
I would as well, mate. 100%. Touched on him just now. Going to mention him next. Maitland Niles. Got to give this kid a lot of respect actually, because I know he was potentially unprofessional when he did whatever he did on Instagram on deadline day, but I like him because he's always gave 110%. And it was like with Alex Iwobi and Danny Welbeck. They were never like outstanding talents, but they used to always play for the shirt and give 110%. And the fans appreciate that, Lee. When I saw
yeah.
Maitland Niles yesterday, the fans were appreciating it because they saw him put a foot in, load of athleticism, which we just don't get with Granit Xhaka in our midfield. Then he went to right back, and again, I think he's got all the attributes to be a fantastic right back for Arsenal. And there's a position for him there that I think he can actually try and, sort of say this is going to be stake a claim for playing here weekly. So, what did you make of him, and how much respect have you got for him now that he's an Arsenal player and staying, mate?
Oh, look, I've always liked Maitland Niles. I think he's a player. I think there's a player in him. Like, I think that it's going to go two ways for him, really. Like, I think if Arsenal were to play a back three, I think there's a guaranteed wing back position for him, and with say like we go to that. I think that he's going to play lots of games there because I think that's what he's earmarked to do. I thought he done really well in midfield yesterday. He got about the pitch well, made some good tackles and everything like that, and worked his socks off. And in the end, he because of lack of game time, I suppose, tired towards the end. So I like his. I don't know if I'd like it as a coach, but I like his calmness about, like, he's very lethargic when he plays and all that, like, very, very, laid back, probably a little bit too laid back for a coach, if I'll be honest. Like they probably see that, and well, I'm not so sure about that, but I quite like that watching it. You know what I mean? He's got that little bit of skill, a little bit of arrogance about him when he plays. I think he's been very, very unfortunate that he needs a long run in the team. He needs to have a run of games. Now he's going to have 3 now, I think. Well, he should get 3 now. Like the problem is for me now is that without Europe now, like, we ain't going to have. There's no game till next Saturday. Then we obviously got the cup game, but then we haven't got another game in midweek for a little while, because that's the way that we're in there. So if you get into the team or you get a chance of playing, you've got to make it count. And he done that very, very well yesterday. He then went to right back. I think he looks comfortable out there as well. And, I think it's trying to now win a position for him, Dan, where he's going to now win a position that you would say, right, he's going to be able to play week in, week out. I don't think, even though he played really well yesterday, that he's going to get that.
Mm. No, I agree with you, mate. And again, it's like the Conga, isn't it? They play well, and you just know this manager's not going to give him a run in the team as soon as the players come back. Maitland Niles, I think, could get stint as a right wing back like you. I think with Tierney over the other side and maybe Tommy Asu, Ben White and Gabriel as a back three, that could happen against some of the big sides. So we might see more of Maitland Niles there. We're going to bring a super chat in a minute, but I want to just touch on the defence before we move to more forward line. Tommy Asu and Ben White were playing together. Looks like that's going to be our back four when we do play a back four with obviously Gabriel and Tierney, Lee. Talk to me first about Ben White and then go on to Tommy Asu, because I think everybody thought Tommy Asu started really well, really lively. Looked like he can use both feet. Nearly scored an absolute worldie that just went over the bar, but it really looked lively. And Ben White, for me, I still worry about him in his aerial threat, but certainly on the ball, mate, he can play. So what did you make of those two performances?
Yeah, I had a real good look at Ben White yesterday. I think, he lost as many headers as he won. And that's not a great thing to have, like, and he ain't up against anybody, like, massively great in the air yesterday. But everything on the floor, comfortable. I thought, like, his passing range was as good as David Luiz last season for us and everything like that. And I think from that point of view, I think that, it bodes well that he's only 23, where where David Luiz was 33. So I think that there's going to be improvements in. I quite liked it. Gabriel coming back is a big plus for me as well because
Oh,
he's
it's
that big,
brilliant.
strong
Yeah,
defender.
I like him a
He's
lot.
got that pace that goes around. Recovery pace as well, and he's the one that you'd say, right, okay, if you're playing up against a big centre forward, you get on him and mark and let Ben White come round and sweep and play up around that. I think that will probably work. I liked what I see of them yesterday. Yes, they're going to have bigger tests in this game and all that, but you can only play what's in front of you. And I think like Pookie's caused problems for us in the past. Caused a few little problems, which you expect in a game, but ultimately, I thought that's a good start from there, and I felt that they worked really well. Now, don't forget when I watched this game, and I don't really know where Tierney, the game kicks off, and Tierney was our furthest player forward. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I think you should still have three at the back and especially when you play against the better sides. But ultimately, them two handled that situation well enough for me. And I think Ben White's going to be a really, really good player for us. I really do. Forget about the transfer fee. Forget it ain't about that. What he's actually going to do there. I think that he's okay. He's going to be good for us.
I mean, I looked at the situation with Tommy Asu and everybody said that he's more of a right centre back, but he certainly can head a ball. He won every single duel in the air. So it's like as if we need them to be swapped round, really. And Ben White is more of our kind of right back. I mean, I like him as a centre back, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, aerially, I thought he was much better, Tommy Asu, and
Yeah.
really comfortable on the ball as well. So maybe hopefully they both be great signings, and we can move forward with a defence that
Well,
is a
I was.
Mikel Arteta defence.
I was impressed with Tommy Asu yesterday. I thought he played really, really well. I thought that he got forward. I tell you what I did like about him was his recovery runs. When he had to get back, he got back, didn't throw himself into the tackle, just got his body in there, done really, really well. He looks like, to be honest, I think somebody said it at the game yesterday, he surprised him by being bigger than what he actually was. So, hopefully when the balls are hitting the far post, he's going to be able to get on the end of them and all that. Listen, sound debut from him. I'm going to say this. Kolasinac had a very, very good debut. Callum Chambers had a very, very good debut. Rob Olin had a very, very good debut.
Danny Ceballos has a very good
Danny
debut.
Ceballos had a very, very good debut. He's not been Arsenalised yet or Artetaised. You know what I mean? So we'll wait and see what happens after that.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong at all. Gonna bring in a super chat now. Chaitanya, worried we don't look like scoring against the top six, Lee. Thank you so much for your kind donation and your super chat. He has a great point, Lee. Scoring goals is very difficult for the Arsenal at the moment, and it's something we're perhaps not used to. So, what do we need to do? Do you think? What does this manager need to do to get scoring goals, Lee?
Scoring goals has been difficult against anybody at this moment in time. We've scored one, goal in 4 games. I think we've got to be a little bit more ruthless. I think Arsenal miss a lot of chances. I really do. I think that our finishing and ratio rate is very, very poor. We have chances and we miss them, and it's been going on for a while. But listen, we did create a lot of chance. I thought that their goalkeeper made a couple of good saves, but Smith Rowe got in, should have done better. I thought Pepe should have done better one that went across. Aubameyang should have done better. So listen, we could have took those chances, and you end up winning the game 3 or 4-0, and everybody looks at it very, very differently. I'd like to see us create a few more chances, but ultimately, when you get chances, sometimes they're easier than others. And I was very surprised. I don't know about you when I see the stat that we'd had 30 shots. It didn't look like that sort of game for us, So maybe because things weren't going great and everything at times, that we just looked at it differently. I don't know, but ultimately, I actually watched Chelsea yesterday, and I've been very, very impressed with them. But they could have actually lost that game yesterday, and they've come out with a 3-0 win. Everybody's going, "Oh, it's great, it's great." We only won 1-0, and people have been a little bit critical. And so I think at the end of the day, let's just take stock from it and things like that. I think there was a good bit of defense. I remember the one when Saka went through, and it was a good bit of defending and from it and all that. Like, so I think you have to give Norwich a little bit of credit. They come in there to stifle us and probably done that. So, but listen, we've got bigger and better teams to play against, as we know. And I think that, listen, we're not going to get as many chances at Burnley. I'd be very surprised if we get 30 shots off against Burnley. But what we've got to be is clinical. And I think that you just got to keep working on that and hoping the likes of Lacazette and Aubameyang when on the pitch take their chances. And I think that them two have been guilty of missing good chances over the last year or so.
Yeah, and I'm with you, mate, 100%. I think the way that we're playing at the moment is quite negative and is quite kind of cautious. And I think that is definitely stifling some of the front men. I will just touch on St. Lo Lee. Erdegaard and Smith Rowe don't score enough, do they? They look like,
No,
or certainly haven't in the
problem.
last six times that they've been in an Arsenal shirt. We haven't really had a goal scoring midfielder since Aaron Ramsey. He's not really been replaced goal ratio wise. You might have say that some of them are potentially going to be better than Aaron Ramsey, and you hope that Erdegaard and Smith Rowe will be, but they need to start scoring. And it worries me with Saka as well, Lee, because as much as I love the kid, his end
Yeah.
product, it just ain't good enough. So we need goals from midfield as well as from the centre forwards, and we're not getting goals from either at the moment, and that's worrying, mate.
Yeah, I think that we need to do that. And I think that's something that we need to look at. As again, I think as in time, I think Saka will improve on his goal performances, and certainly Smith Rowe will. And Odegaard, really, there was 3 or 4 occasions on yesterday when Odegaard should have shot and he didn't. I remember having little back flicks and things like that in the box and all that. They've got to be a little bit more ruthless, and that's something that only the manager can get into them and say to them to do. But we've been doing that for a very, very long time. I thought on 4 or 5 occasions yesterday, Odegaard had a chance to shoot and he chose to safer option to pass. Maybe because the team's lacking a little bit of confidence. Once the confidence built up, they'll have those shots. That's something that we'll have to wait and see. I just think it's something that we'll just have to see what happens. I think that if we're going to beat Burnley on next Saturday, it'll be another scrappy 1-0 win. We'll have to take that. Probably be a hard-fought game against Spurs. And I think that then hopefully after that, the momentum will be going. If we can get another result against Brighton, then all of a sudden the confidence will come in and maybe they'll be taking these chances and having these shots.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. And Erdegaard and Smith Rowe are quite different. I see Smith Rowe as more of a selfish player, and I said yesterday that he was quite selfish, but actually when I thought about it, I don't mind that. I don't mind that he's selfish because I think sometimes that's kind of needed in the team. Sometimes you have to take the ball, drive forward and have a go. I think with Erdegaard, he's less selfish. I think he's a lot trickier. He's more technically gifted, in my opinion. I think Smith Rowe is more of a kind of enforcer or a drive forward, whereas I think Erdegaard's more tricks and flicks. We saw, I think, a 1-2 with Saka, which didn't come off from Erdegaard, which would have been class if it would have come off. And he's more of that player. But the way that we ended the game, Lee, and I'm going to bring a super chat in after this, I thought we looked more 4-3-3 with Partey holding and Smith Rowe and Erdegaard in front. And actually going forward, we looked a little bit more dangerous with Pepe and Saka and Aubameyang as that front three. It allowed that front three somehow to go forward more. It was as if they were allowed to be expressed. Exactly that. So do you think that we'll see more of that against the kind of so-called lesser sides now?
Well, I like to think so. I think that, as I said earlier on in the chat, I think that we've got to look to be getting Odegaard and Smith Rowe into the team. Smith Rowe's got to get into this team somehow. Now, how do you do that? Do you go with that system where you put like Partey as a holding midfielder and you've got the two there? Listen, but why have you got to keep having 2 holding midfield players all the time? I don't see what, you know what I mean? We never had that when we was under Arsene Wenger. We was always crying out for, we had 3 more attacking players. Instead, we've always wanted to hold him. Let's get the one holding one, get a defence that's got shape in it and stays solid. That's 5 defenders. You know what I mean? Like, and let the 4 attack. So I'm with you on that. Let Odegaard go on one side, Smith Rowe down the other. Get them into the team. Pepe, Aubameyang. Then you've got and Saka. Then you've got threats all around. And I think that when you look at it, you've got Martinelli and you've also got Lacazette to come on with things are not working and all that. We should be like a more attacking team, Dan, in my opinion, with all those players. What's the point of having all those players if you're going to put holding midfield players and let let the reins off these guys and let's see what we can do. But make sure you keep things tight at the back with a back foot, with a strong back four and a back five. I'd rather see Odegaard and Odegaard and Smith Rowe or Martinelli attacking than Tierney and whoever's going to be right back. Tommy Asu, if that's who it's going to be. I'd rather see us attacking with those players.
Yeah, I would as well, mate. And I've always wanted to see us change this 4-2-3-1 because I don't actually like number 10s in football. I just don't think that is kind of current anymore. I don't really see any other Premier League players playing with a number 10 really anymore because Kevin De Bruyne, James Maddison, Jack Grealish, they're not really number 10s, are they? They're kind of attacking 8s now. And I know Grealish has now moved over to the left-hand side more, but certainly Kevin De Bruyne and James Maddison are more attacking 8s, and that's what I thought Husam Aouar would have been if he would have come to Arsenal, and that was why I was excited for that potential signing. I think with Odegaard, he's seen more as a number 10, likewise with Smith Rowe, so that's why we're looking to play that. But if you actually had them more as attacking 8s with Partey behind holding and kind of being that anchor, I think that would work, and I'd love to see that moving forward now, just to see something a little bit different. I'm going to bring in another super chat. Just before I do, we've obviously got Burnley and Spurs upcomingly. Rabadam, thank you so much for your kind donation. This is what he's saying. He thinks we'll beat Spurs, but we'll lose to Burnley. It would be very typical, wouldn't it, Lee, to do that? What do you make of this coming up, and what does Mikel Arteta need from these two games, points-wise, to keep himself safe in the job for now?
6 points. He needs to get some wins under his belt. He needs to start winning games of football on a constant. The only way he's going to get player supporters off his back is win games. 5, 6, 7 games. He's not going to convince me by beating Norwich and then losing to Burnley or beating Spurs. I want to see a constructive, constant game of wins and things like that. I want to see us go to Burnley next week and get a scrappy 1-0 win. If it, obviously I'd like to see us win 3 or 4, but show you can get in there, make a statement that you're prepared to roll up your sleeves and battle and fight and get a performance. I watched Chelsea the other week when they went down to 10 men against Liverpool. Did they fold? No. What that told me was that this is a team that wants to win the title. That's what their aim is. Well, what's Arsenal's aim at the moment? Let's see what you can do. Then go and beat Spurs. That should give you enough confidence then to go and beat Brighton. Then you've got Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. I think the other way around, I think it's Palace and Aston Villa. Then get those performances. Then you're on a bit of a roll, Dan. All of a sudden you've got 5, 6 games. You'd be halfway up the table and people will be thinking to themselves, hold on a minute, Arsenal are starting to kick in and start to believe that. All of a sudden, I said this on a podcast the other day, Alex Ferguson was 1 game away from the sack. Look what he was left lauded towards the end. What was that? Because he paid the fans off with money? Did he talk in a press conference? No, he won games of football. Fans will change. You will change. Your motto, if Mikel Arteta wins the next 10 games, if he went and got 40 points in his next 10 games, you won't be saying, he's not the answer, he's not the answer. And that's not a wrong thing, by the way. That's because the man's turned it around and got wins. That's the only way he's going to win back fans. He ain't going to win back fans by gelling his hair back and being nice on a TV interview. Win games of football. Inspire the fans. Now, at the end of it then, if he loses games playing the way he's playing it now, they're not going to be happy because it's not good to watch. It's not entertaining. We're not getting entertained, and we're scratching our heads. What's going on? But ultimately, if he starts winning 1-0, 1-0, then 2-0, 3-0, there, we'll let him go. We'll let him go.
Yeah, listen, bang
listen.
on.
Someone's just saying I'm not comparing Mikel Arteta to Alex Ferguson.
No.
I'm actually don't ever go down that route. I have not gone completely mad over a 1-0 Norwich win. What I'm saying is that is how you turn things around.
Win football games, mate. Win football games, and that is what will happen. And until he does that, I'm still not going to be convinced.
Of course you are. Rightly so.
Yeah, and I believe so. I believe rightly so. We've got one more super chat before we start to invite some guests on, Lee. There's over 760 of you watching live. Much appreciated for joining us. Thanks for being so interactive in the chat. Please smash a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. That would be amazing. Lee, this super chat's come in. Brady's Banana is back. Some beer tokens from Ireland. Thank you so much.
Oh, lovely.
It says, P.S. When teams tire, bring on Smith Rowe and Lacazette. Smith Rowe runs at a tired defence and Lacazette will hold the ball up for some 1-2s. It makes sense to me, but I'm celebrating. Load of beer signs. Sofa manager, come on, you Gunners. What do you make of that, Lee, just before we move on? Because I think,
Listen,
there's some good subs for us now, isn't there, potentially?
Exactly right, and you've got Martinelli that can do that as well. I don't think he should be like missed out in that. I think that I think that's a great point. Tired defense. You don't want players running from deep like Smith Rowe and stretching you and things like that. And you've got that. That's a great point. And I think that we have got those players now in those positions on the bench that can come on and cause problems. Our bench looked very, very strong, by the way, on Sunday when you look at it. On Saturday from that point of view, lots of attacking options. Because of the way it went, Lacazette and Martinelli didn't even get on. So that just shows you there's certainly something that we can work on there. And so, listen, it ain't always about the first 11 that start. Sometimes it is the substitutions that change it and all that. Yesterday, I still say it. That game would have been 0-0 if it wasn't for Partey and Smith Rowe coming on. I really do believe that.
And Pepe. Just had to get that in there. We are going to get right into things now. Something a little bit different for you guys. We are going to be inviting some guests on. We have 5 people waiting in the background. First of all, a good friend of the show and a great friend of ours. I had the pleasure of seeing him yesterday for a beer. It's only Albert from Albert JTV. Albert, how you doing, bro?
Yes, people. I've made it onto Lee Judge's TV. I'm man's happy.
How are we doing, my man?
No, it's good. I'm good, man. Like Gaffer, like you said at the beginning of the show, lots of sport on yesterday. Seeing Emma do the business, unbelievable. Didn't think I'd see it in my lifetime, honestly, mate. Great.
She was class, by the way, wasn't she? No changes. Absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed that. Just destroyed her, didn't she? So fair play to her as well. And do you know? I don't know if you noticed it. Like she seems to have bulked up a little bit. Like she must have been working hard in the gym and everything like that. I think all of a sudden now the men's game, we've lost Andy Murray, and she's going to take us through in this game. She's come along. We've got an interest. Fantastic,
It is. I'll tell you what, it was absolutely class, to be honest. But Albert, yesterday we got a win, man. You obviously did the fan cam for the channel. Much appreciated. Thanks for doing that, mate. So we got kind of a bit of your thoughts. But how's things at Arsenal at the moment for you, man? Like, what's your perspective of things in terms of the manager, and what does he need to do to keep kind of his job at the moment?
I see a lot of people talk about players back and injuries and COVID, and I totally understand that. But my issue with Arteta partly has been, I still don't think after 20 months he knows his best 11. Absolutely not. In terms of lineup yesterday, Dan, I would struggle to find any Arsenal fan, as I said in the fan cam, that would have been disappointed with that lineup. I mean, I think people probably would have called 9 or 8 or 9 players out of the 11 that started. I didn't see Aaron Ramsdale starting, but again, I didn't have an issue with that. Maitland-Niles gets his chance in midfield, which he's been crying out for. I thought the first half was a game of 2 halves. I thought Arsenal started it pretty decently for 20-25 minutes. A lot of possession as normal. I'll take Gaffer's point in terms of the fact that I want to see the point of our attack coming from both flanks of the pitch, as opposed to it just being Tierney's side of the pitch, because it's too predictable. And the issue that we have is we don't move the ball quick enough. And I even felt that even with Lokonga and Maitland-Niles in the middle. But what they gave us was a bit more mobility, which we don't have in the midfield because a certain somebody was suspended. We mentioned no names. But and I thought we just got sloppy, and you can see why Arsenal haven't won games of football if you're looking at that first half, or why we struggle to score goals, or why we struggle to create, because we get to the final third and it comes unstuck. We had a couple of chances in the first half. Aubameyang rushed that effort in the first half. I don't know what he was trying to do. I thought he was trying to look the goalkeeper, but it didn't actually turn out like that. But we let Norwich grow a little bit more confidently into the game. And I had my score prediction at 3-1, boys, but sort of watching that first half, it was pretty clear to me that because, like I said, we haven't started the season very well. We're not scoring goals. We're struggling to break teams down. I would have took a 1-0 at that point, at that moment, because that is the way the game was heading.
Yeah, and I mean, what did you make of the new transfers? Just quickly, Albert. Before, I just want to get your opinion on it because a lot of people said it was a bit of a shambles of a window. I thought it was an underwhelming one. I didn't think it was a shambles. But what did you make of the new lads coming in? Because I thought some of them had some really good games, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that. In terms of the actual signings that came in, I'll be honest. I could get why people were underwhelmed because the problem at Arsenal is for the next few transfer windows, boys, we are playing catch up because it's fine bringing in the youngsters into a group of players that are experienced or have a culture of winning, but we don't have that at Arsenal. And that's a lot to ask of a Ben White to come in and spearhead our defense, even with a Gabriel. I didn't have an issue with Ben White coming. You know, Ben White is a product of being English, hence the reason why the price was paid for him. But that's nothing we can do about that. Sambi Lukonga, never heard of him, but I'm pleased at what I've seen so far because he looks self-assured and comfortable on the ball and moves the ball quickly, which is what I like to see. Tavares has obviously come in, but I must touch on Tomoyasu actually. And I said this, I did a section on my channel this afternoon that when I watch football and I watch right backs or I watch wing backs, what I saw yesterday, people will mention the fact that we played Norwich, but we can't decide who we play. But that's what I want to see from my right back or my right wing back. I want to see I want to see dynamism. I want to see someone athletic. I want to see somebody have positional sense and being able to get up and down the pitch. And like Lee said, he's a lot bigger in the flesh when you saw him when I saw him in the picture. So I said, wow, he's a physical specimen. But in terms of the back four, I don't know what you guys think. If you're going to play a flat back four, that is the four I want to see. I want to see Mikel Arteta actually have some cohesion in picking a settled back four. So I want to see the same back four against Burnley. I don't care if they got Chris Wood or Barnes up front. I want to see the same back four against Tottenham and Brighton and so on. Give your goalkeeper, Ramsdale, who that's going to be, give your back four a chance to get settled, know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and progress this team forward from the basis of having a good defence in order for our midfield to flourish.
I think it's fair dues. Lee, do you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, one last question for you, Albert. I'm going to ask it. I'm putting you right on the spot here. Where are Arsenal going to come at the end of the season, in your opinion? Not where you think, where you think.
From what I've seen in terms of transfer activity and window and what I've seen early parts of the season, I'd be surprised if you finish higher than 8th, mate.
Ooh.
I think that's fair, though. I think that's fair, Lee.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But what I will say, Gaff, before I go is Mikel Arteta, there needs to be, to me, there can't be any more excuses. He has a nucleus of a squad in order to do better than finishing 8th. No European football, there's no excuses.
Yeah, no, listen, I absolutely 100% agree. Albert, you're always a legend,
Albert,
mate.
you're an absolute star, like that.
Much love, guys. Of course.
You're a star, man. Man, make sure you go and follow Albert on Albert JTV.
We're going to have him a lot more as well. We're in negotiations with him, Dan.
Yeah, he's on our list. He's on our list. Somebody else who has been part of the show already and is a massive fan favourite is Lucy. Luce, how you doing, darling?
Hi, guys. I mean, any weekend where Arsenal win and Tottenham get thrashed is a good weekend to me. So I'm doing very well, thank you. You know how it is, guys. You know how it is.
Like, you know. So, Luce, but tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how do we all know each other and everything like that. So let's tell us a little bit.
Well, I was born into an Arsenal family. My parents actually met at an Arsenal match, and I've been going since I was about 8. I met Lee through my dad. Very good friends. Absolutely love the guy. I can't rate him more, as you all will know. And I've been slowly integrating myself into the Arsenal community. I've kind of stayed away in the past because you know how our fan base can kind of get a bit intense. It's the word I suppose I'll use. But yeah, just slowly getting back into it, more active on Twitter, more active on podcasts and the like.
And doing a fine job, I will say this, like, you know, and I think
Thank you.
more popular than your dad, I think, like, you know what I mean? We see, like, you know.
Well,
So there's a
he
little
won't like
competition
that.
going on in the hobby household now, like, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's great to have you though, Luce, and thanks for jumping on. What do you make of things at the moment? Obviously, yesterday we finally scored a goal, Luce, which we could celebrate, and we got the 3 points we needed. But I thought it was a little underwhelming still. What did you make of it, Lucy?
Absolutely. It was hard to watch, quite honestly, but you could argue that getting the points was more important yesterday. Like that was the intention behind the way the team was set up. Defensively, we look a lot more solid, but creatively, we just look boring. We look lax and just out of ideas, quite frankly. I think I completely agree with what Albert was saying about consistency. Like Arteta just does. He's still trying to experiment. We don't have the luxury of having European football, so we can't really change formations and see what's working and what's not. We kind of have to put our best 11 forward every week, and he still doesn't really understand what that is, in my opinion. I know we've had a lot of issues with COVID, with international, but whatever, all of that stuff aside, everyone's had to deal with that now. So the fact is we need to sort of figure out where we're going forward and what the plan is. They keep telling us they've got a plan. I have yet to see what or if that's going to materialize, but yeah, it all looks a bit of a shambles, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it does, to be honest with you. And what do you think
Mm.
like needs to happen for Mikel now? Because obviously the pressure's on. You know, I'm not a huge fan, and whenever we speak offline, Lucy, I make it very clear that I'm not into this regime or this ownership. But we're stuck with owners, board, and manager at the moment. So how do you think he can turn this around?
Um, I'm gonna probably get some hate for saying this, but I feel like we need to stick with consistency. I know you obviously need to set up for the team that you're playing against, and there are changes that need to be made, but not changing 5 or 6 players every game. And going into the big six, I saw a comment that said we're going to struggle to get results against the top six teams, which is true. But realistically, going to teams like Tottenham and Man United, a draw would not be a bad result for us when you look at the way that our team have been performing and the formations that Mikel Arteta is trying to put forward. We need to say, look, against the bigger teams, we need to set up a solid defense at the back. Again, be consistent, have them know their own strengths and weaknesses, like Albert said. Absolutely, completely agree with that. But also going forward against the other teams like Burnley, who no disrespect to them, but we can actually probably have quite a go against them and be a bit more ruthless and attacking and try some new different things. But he's just got to sort of figure out what our strongest 11 is, because at this point, I think he's out of ideas.
No, I think you're right. Lee, over to you.
No, do you think what so Luce, as I agree with you, it wasn't the greatest performance, it was a little bit stifling and all that, but what would you still have you still got the faith in Arteta to turn this around, or do you think it's just a matter of time before he loses his job?
Well, realistically, I think the manager is only part of the problem. And at this point, who are you going to bring in that's going to risk their reputation? I know everyone wants Conte, but why would he want to come to us? Like you've got to yeah, we've have been a great football club. We've got a great history, but like this is a big job. And the fact that Arteta was appointed in the first place, nobody wanted him in the first place. So we all say get behind the manager. He's got a game under his belt. He's got 3 points under his belt, and see how he can develop and how he can take us forward, because they're not getting rid of him. We know that this is their plan. This is who they're sticking with, whether that's or not because they trust him or because they haven't got another plan is irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
This is what we just have to trust in the manager and trust that he can take us forward.
Do you think he can turn it around? Honest opinion.
Turn it around in what sense? That we'll get top six? Is that what you mean?
Well, just
or
turn it around, like, you know, where he gets like the likes of myself, you, your dad.
Yeah, the support of the fans
Turn it around,
and
yeah, like, you know. When do you think he can do it? Do you think he can turn Dan around or not? Like, you know.
Dan is a lost cause as far as Mikel Arteta is concerned. I think if he continues to to show promise in getting the points. Potentially, there's always room for change, and I want to be proved wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want us to go out there and lose. You see some supporters going, "Oh, I hope we lose today, so Arteta gets sacked." No, that's not the mentality that we need to have. The mentality we need to have is get behind the team, because at the end of the day, I support Arsenal FC. I do not support Mikel Arteta FC. I'm here to watch the Arsenal and support my club. So all of that gets left at the bridge when I go to Arsenal. When I cross over that bridge into the stadium, that's it. I'm here to support my team. But I fingers crossed. I hope he does turn it around, because I never wanted him to fail. I feel like he was thrown under the bus a little bit. I wanted him to succeed.
100%. Last question, going to put you on the spot. Are Arsenal going to beat Burnley?
I said 1-1 to Norwich. I feel like it's going to be a 1-1 at Burnley. And I feel like I would like to think we could go ahead and be ruthless and take the game by the scruff of the neck and get 3 points. But being realistic with the way that we performed yesterday, Burnley are a lot more physical team as well. We tend to not be as good as holding up the ball against teams like Burnley and like Southampton and the like. But I take a point from that game, if I'm honest. Maybe that's negative, but that's awful,
how bad
isn't
is that, though? No, and listen, I agree. I think it's going to be 1-1 as well, Lou. So I can't sit there and say that I disagree with you, because of the way that they play. We're struggling to score. They're very, very defensive in terms of how they try to win games and try to set up. And I think you're absolutely bang on. Lucy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, darling.
Thank you, guys.
Please make sure you go follow Lucy, and we'll see you next time, Lucy. All right? Cheers, darling.
Well done, Lucy.
Brilliant. The wonderful Lucy. We're going to bring on our next guest. It's John from the Real Ball Talk on YouTube. John, how are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you both?
Yeah, we're good, mate.
You okay?
Thanks so much for coming on, mate.
No worries. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Great stuff. Talk to us, man. You've heard what the guys have got to say. You've heard what myself and Lee have got to say. Do you share the opinions at the moment that it's a little bit doom and gloom in some of the performances, or are you behind Mikel Arteta's project, so to speak?
I mean, I think obviously with yesterday's game, we would like to think that we would smash a team like Norwich at home, but I think in the circumstances, we just have to be real. We just needed to get 3 points yesterday, and I think while it was unconvincing, the result we got over the line, and I think I was surprised from the screen how supportive the fans sounded like, because obviously with the Emirates, sometimes we know it can be not toxic, but when things are not going the right way and a couple passes start going astray, the crowd can get on top of the players. But I feel like yesterday, it felt like it was like a really united front, which was supportive, obviously, and I think it helped the team progress. Obviously, there were positives. Tommy Yasu at right back was good. Partey coming back in, he made a big difference when he came in, because he's got the ability to get the ball and play the passes through the lines and between the gaps, similar to how when we scored, he played that pass, killed that defender, and then Saka was through. But in terms of the overall project, I gotta be honest, I'm more on the Arteta outside, purely and simply because while we had a lot of shots yesterday, I think everyone's kind of said it, we didn't really have any clear-cut chances, or not many. And I think that's still the thing that we struggle with in terms of being able to break teams down. I still don't think sometimes it's very clear how we're trying to play out from the back, because obviously usually we have Xhaka in the team and he tends to like to drift more towards the left-hand side because he's quite limited in the middle area if he's pressed. So that's why that whole build-up, how it's linked, obviously Smith Rowe, Odegaard, can they play together? Do they complement each other? Probably not. Yeah. So then that's a question. Is Pepe actually better on the left? And is Saka actually better on the right? That's a question that obviously needs to be kind of sorted out. Obviously, Aubameyang up top, we know what we're going to get from him in the sense that he doesn't have the best hold-up play in the world, but he's there just to get a chance and bag it. That's why yesterday the word you guys used was right. He looks sharp because he's that type of player you judge him by the types of runs he's making. So I think there's a lot of work to do, but you know, they've tried to invest in youth players. We've kind of seen this before with the Fabregas era, then the Wilshere era. So they're kind of going down that route again. And I think for now, I think we just need to try and get behind the players.
Yeah, and you know what? Like Lee said right at the start, that the fans were great, and that is obviously what you want to see. Brave call, to be honest. One thing I will bring up is Ramsdale ahead of Leno. Do you think that was the right call, and do you think now he's going to be the number one moving forward?
Yeah, I feel like he will be the number one moving forward. I think Leno's got 1 year left or 2 years. Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
One
wrong.
year, he's like he'll be off in January, I reckon.
He'll be off. Yeah, he'll be off. We've heard all the sounds. You know what it's like with players, and yeah, I just think obviously Ramsdale, there's been a lot of banter, obviously relegated multiple times, errors leading to goals. But I think when you pay that much for a keeper, it's very rare that you're not going to end up being the number one. So I think Arteta maybe just said, you know what, let me just throw him in straight away. Maybe that will help his confidence as well. Because the longer he waits to play, then when he comes in, he's a bit nervous. So maybe that the fact that he played yesterday in front of the crowd maybe took him by surprise and said, you know what, let me just give my best. And he got a clean sheet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I bring
Yeah.
Lee in, my mate made a great point. My best mate's actually a goalkeeper, and he said, "I actually think Ramsdale's going to be number one." He said, and I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, and the reason he's not played against Chelsea or Man City is because if we did get flattened 5, which we did, and obviously get bullied by Chelsea, his confidence would have gone shot to
Exactly.
pieces. So he thought the best time to bring him in was now, and he thinks he'll be our number one now. So I think maybe it's something that could potentially work. Sorry, Lee, go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'll ask the same sort of questions in the next two games, John. We've got Burnley and Tottenham. Realistically, on what you think, don't worry about anybody else, your opinion.
Yeah.
How many points you think we'll get out of those two games? Don't be influenced by Dan and Lucy.
Nah, don't worry. I think the Burnley one, I think it might end up being a draw. Um, just because we know how Burnley play, we know what they're about, and I think obviously with the Ben White situation now, because obviously the stats are out there about his aerial ability, they're gonna target him. We know this. Chris Wood, Ashley Barnes, we know what they're about. So, and like I said, I'm still not convinced that our ability to create chances against low blocks. And that's what Burnley are going to do to us next week. They've got the crowd there. Not sure what time kickoff is. That could play a part too. If it's like if it's a live TV game. So the Burnley one, I'm gonna go for a draw. I think with Spurs we can win that game because I think Spurs have been massively overrated. I think the Nuno's hiring, I think he's very similar to Mourinho. I see in the type of football that he tries to play. It's quite negative. Obviously, when he first came through at Wolves in the Premier League, everyone was bigging him up. He did well his first couple of years playing the three at the back. But once teams started to work it out, even Wolves fans were towards the end were like, this team, where our actual nature is to set up to play at the back, sit back. And that's what Spurs did in their first 3 games. They only scored 3 goals, one each game. One of them, I think, was a free kick that went straight in. So obviously, you don't expect them to lose 3-0 to Palace. They did get the red card, but I think at home, we have done well against Spurs at home as well in the last 3 years. I feel like so. Yeah, I think we can win the Spurs one. I think we can win that one. But Burnley, yeah, I'm going to go for 1-1.
Okay, cool. Final question for me. Will we
No.
need to get our passports out come the end of the season?
Well, for European football.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Maybe for the Europa Conference League. Yeah,
Oh.
maybe for that one.
I think that'll stay in my pocket. I think like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not recommending you get your money out for that, but
No.
to be honest, I think we'll finish. I think we might finish 8th. I'm not convinced we're there quite yet, which I know it sounds crazy to say Arsenal finishing 8th, but I mean, we've done that the last 2 seasons as bad as it sounds, so we're almost having to start to get used to it. I hope we can be higher. Like I said, I'd prefer to get Europa League rather than Europa Conference League because that competition, it will turn out to be a joke. But yeah, if I have to be honest, I'm going to say I think 8th will just miss out.
Okay, brilliant. John, super.
Thank you so much, man, for jumping on. I'm sure we'll see some more of you. Please make sure you go and follow John, and thank you for coming on, mate.
No worries.
Cheers,
Thanks,
John.
guys.
Lovely to meet you. Top man.
Great stuff, guys. This has been fantastic. I'm really enjoying speaking to some new people, Lee. It's great to have different guests on.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Next guy we're going to bring on, done a fan cam yesterday, which I have to say was absolute class. I was absolutely cracking up listening to it. He was spot on with most of what he said. I share some opinions with him 100%. It's Ayo. Ayo, how you doing, man?
All right, what's going on, man? What's going on? Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to be here. Yeah, man.
Good stuff, mate. Your fan cam yesterday was hilarious. Obviously, great comments about what happened at Spurs yesterday, which was great as well.
It's facts.
So talk to me, man. Talk to me. What's going on?
Alright. Okay, let me just introduce myself. My name's Ayo. I'm the only Arsenal fan who hates Arsenal. I hate Arsenal, man. I hate them for what they put me through for the past like 10 years. Like there's a hatred that I have right here. It's just right here in my chest, and it is there. You get me? Anytime Arsenal lose, it just comes out of me. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes to the game yesterday, let me just explain something. Yeah, for the first 20 minutes, we'll do a press. We'll be pressing. We do it for every game. We'll press for 20 minutes, and then after, everybody's tired. Everybody gets tired, and then we'll let Norwich back into the game. You get what I'm saying? Like people should have. We just don't have a killer instinct at Arsenal, especially with Arteta. You get what I'm saying? Like, everyone was scoring goals. You get me? Everyone was scoring goals, but Arteta, I don't know what's going on. Like, we don't have a killer instinct. Aubameyang should have bagged. I don't know what happened with that chip when we tried chipping the goalkeeper. Kroos on it though. Tim Kroos very good yesterday, but Saka should have scored. Emil Smith-Rowe should have scored. Pepe should have scored. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's going on. We're gonna slap 50 shots at these guys. If we're slapping all these shots against United and we're not scoring, we're getting packed off. It's simple as that, really. It's simple as that. Like I don't know where we're gonna see our next win from. Like, I don't think we're beating Burnley. I actually don't think we're gonna beat Burnley, because if you can't beat Norwich, them man are bad. Can we just say them man are very bad? But like, if we're slapping 10, 15 shots at them, we can't beat them. You get what I'm saying? We're not beating Burnley. And Chris Wood, them man there. If Lukaku's doing that to Murray, he's bigger than Ben White. What's Chris Wood gonna do to Ben White? I have no faith in this team. I'm so sorry. I have no faith in this team. None. Zero. I'm so sorry. You know what it is though? Tomiyasu played very well yesterday. I'll be so real. Let me be real myself. Tomiyasu played very well yesterday. Defensively, very well. Attacking wise, I don't know. I still think we should have went in for all out right back like a Max Aarons. You see what Max Aarons was doing to us yesterday? He was on it yesterday. I'll be so real. He was on it yesterday. But I think Tierney, the defense was good. The defense was very good still. Good passing. Lokonga and Maitland-Niles was very surprising to me. I didn't think I'll see Lokonga and Maitland-Niles in the midfield. Maitland-Niles was alright, but Lokonga near the end was kind of giving away the ball a bit too much. You get what I'm saying? Giving away too much. But at the first 20 minutes, he was on it. Pepe, I think it was all right yesterday. Everybody's saying it. I actually think it was all right.
Yes, Ayo. You know
Yeah,
it.
I think it was good. Still, he had he had them on ropes. He had Brandon Williams on ropes. I had United fans on ropes yesterday. I can't lie. United fans, I was on the phone to them like, yo, you have seen a right back, seen a left back. Yeah, that's Pepe on him still. Yeah, man. What's it called? Aubameyang, captain's performance yesterday. 100% captain's performance. He was very good yesterday. Very good, very good. I think I agree with you. I think we may be starting to see the old Aubameyang back. You get what I'm saying? I still Saka on the left does not work. I don't like Saka on the left anymore. I think he belongs on the right. I think Pepe should go to the left. Yeah, man. Odegaard. He needs to sort of, you get me. He needs to start scoring a couple goals now. He needs to start shooting instead of passing. You get what I'm saying? I think he's looking for the pass when the pass is. I think he just needs to be more killer. You get what I'm saying? I'll be so real. I've not really watched Odegaard over the past few years. Past couple clubs he's been at, but he's clearly very, very talented. But he just needs to stop scoring now. You get what I'm saying? Stop scoring, start assisting. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Yeah.
Thing is, do you think as well, Ayo? Like you said, you don't like this team. You don't trust this team. Do you think that the team are more to blame in terms of the player quality, or do you think that the manager is not getting the best out of this team?
I think it's both, really. I think it's both, but at the same time, the manager puts the team up, and sometimes I don't agree with the lineup, and sometimes I do, but the players just don't turn up. You get what I'm saying? It's just, and I don't like the system. I don't really like the inverted right back thing, and we're just slapping it to Tierney and hoping he crosses it, but it's into an empty box anyway. So I think it's definitely a bit of both. I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both.
Fair one, man. Lee, over to you.
Listen, I understand where you are from, like the Arsenal thing and the hate and all that. Trust me. When you get a bit older, that starts to die a little bit, like, you know. So I think we've all been there with it, like, you know. So, what made you support Arsenal? What was the reason that you supported Arsenal?
My dad brought me into this thing, man. I spoke to him the other day. I was like, Dad, why did you make me support this team? You know what he told me? He said, he told me, oh, you see, if you support Arsenal, nothing will ever hurt you in life ever again. I was preparing you for life. And let me tell you something. I've never had my heart broken. You get me? I've never had it broken. No one has ever hurt me properly. You get me? So it's a thing where it's like, yeah, he's right. But at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I still wouldn't have supported this team. If I had the chance, I was going to support Chelsea, them teams there, but my dad was like, nah, Jay, we're in this together. We're in this together, you get me? Now I've got to pass this Arsenal thing that to my son. I can't do that. I can't do that to him. You get me? I can't do that. But that's how I got into Arsenal.
Listen, big up to your dad. Big up to your dad. Like, so growing up as a kid, I'll ask the question: Who was your favourite player?
My favourite player. I never got to see Thierry Henry and them man play. I started at Nicholas Bentner, Van Persie, them man there. You get me? Maran Shamak starting up front. You get me? Like Squalacci. I grew up with Squalacci. You know the pain that I'm feeling. Squalacci at centre back. Gee, I tell you, this pain is real. You get me? But my favourite player was like. I think my favorite player was I think was can I see that? Yeah, Van Persie. It has to be Van Persie still. It has to be Van Persie. Van Persie was class.
No, nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I'll forgive Van Persie a long time ago, like, if I'll be honest.
I understand why he left. I actually understand why he left.
I get it as well, like, you know, so I do get that, like, you know what I mean?
No, I've got to agree, man. I think with Van Persie, Ashley Cole, Alexis Sanchez, Cesc Fabregas, I get it because the ambitions was not matched with the club, and the ownership was not going to match that, so they had to get out of there, and I totally understood it. Ayo, you've been an absolute star, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Star, like, yeah, I mean, like,
yeah, man.
The main man.
Thank you for having me, man.
Man, we'll hope to see more of you soon, man. You take it easy, all right, mate?
100%, like, he's going to be a big part of the channel, I think, like, you know, without a doubt, like, you know, funny guy.
Absolutely hilarious.
I'll tell you what, I can relate to that. Arsenal is a love-hate relationship. It really is. There's times I detest them, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then 3 days later, I'm back there going again, like, you know. So I get that 100%.
Oh, no, man. It is like that, innit? You fall out of love with them, and then you go and watch them a few days later. But I do feel for Rayo, yeah, because do you know what? I look at it and I think if I grew up with Nicholas Bentner and Shamak up top, I would be exactly like that. I was lucky enough to grow up in the late 80s and the early 90s, and then when Arsene Wenger come along, it was all fantastic and we were winning everything, playing beautiful football league. But when you're growing up in the Emirates era, it's been tough. It has been tough. So
the next guest for us had John Hawley and Lee Chapman, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was doing all right. Don't worry about that, like, yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, we're going to bring our last guest in. He's a great friend of ours, and he will become a regular of the show. It's Gunnar Russ. Russ, how are you, buddy?
Good evening, gentlemen. Can you hear me all right?
My man, how are you? All right?
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Good stuff, Russ.
I'll tell you what, I was cracking up in backstage there. Listening to Banter FC. Banter FC, that's what we've become.
Honestly, mate, and I could see you obviously in the background cracking up laughing because I think what you can kind of relate, Russ, to be honest. But I wanted to bring up a couple of things because I spoke to you earlier and I thought it was interesting what you were saying. The transfer window itself, Russ, what did you make of it? And a big statement yesterday with some of the names that we saw coming straight into the first team.
Well, as I said to you the other day when we were having a little chat, I found it all rather strange that Edu came out with that statement, tried to defend what we all said was a pretty much underwhelming transfer window. And he came out really, really aggressively defending some of his decisions and saying that they were building a team for the future. So in the back of my head, I just thought, well, fair enough. Lino will be in goal. Cedric could be at right back. And, you know, and same old will happen. And much to my surprise, when I see the team come out, he's actually grown a pair and dropped Lino. and actually started to implement some of the things that they said they were going to do, i.e., they're not going to start playing players that aren't signing contracts. You're going to be binned until you sign. And if you don't sign, bang. So he's replaced Lino, who wouldn't sign, with Ramsdale, which I always thought he was going to be a number one anyway, because why would you pay 24 million quid for someone who's going to be an understudy? It didn't make any sense. So perhaps I was a little bit harsh on Edu, but then again, maybe this was Arteta saying, well, hold on a minute, perhaps I wasn't so much enamoured with all these signings, and I'm going to throw you under the bus by playing them all. So, it's a weird situation. Our friend Ayo a minute ago said something which I wanted to allude to as well, the fact that Saka plays better on the right than he does on the left. And would you agree with that as well?
Yeah,
I
I think that. I do think that, and
and I came to the conclusion when you watch Pepe play on the right hand side, he's always wanting to cut back in on his left, and it seems to take a bit of ground away from the player playing inside there, whether it be Smith Rowe or Odegaard. It always seems to take up a bit of ground. They haven't quite got the noodle yet to do what Liverpool did a lot today. When Salah comes in from the line, he'll run on, give the ball, run on, and then all of a sudden somebody else will dart in behind and make the space, and they're around the back. And I think that's what we're trying to do, but we're trying to do it a bit boss-eyed. And I totally agree with Rio. Pepe should be playing on the left. He's a left-footed player. He's more effective playing on the left. And play Aubameyang down the middle and play Saka wide with Emile Smith-Rowe. And then I think you'll get the best out of those four players then. And something that Lee said earlier on as well about Tierney bombing on, that's all well and good bombing on. If you're going to have a talented left wing back, that's brilliant. But what the defence has to do is what our old defence back in the day, the famous back 4-5, was they all used to shuffle across the pitch.
yeah.
They would come across and cut the spaces down. So when that left back went, the right back would tuck over this way a little bit, and the two centre halves would pull over a little bit and just narrow the pitch down a little bit. And does that happen? I don't think it does.
No, it didn't yesterday, Russ. It really didn't. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a big worry, especially against the big teams. The big teams will exploit that. Norwich hadn't got the capability to do that, and it is a bit of a worry. And I don't. Well,
that's easily fixable, though, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, just shuffle across and go from there. And I think that there's something that they've got to do. Listen, I'm a little bit old school, Russ. I don't know about you. I like my defenders to defend. Yeah. And yes, get forward when possible. I don't want them to be my be end and end all attacking option. They're a backup option to other players, and I think we're trying to get Tierney into positions. Well, I'd like to see Saka in those positions, or Pepe if he's out on that side, or whatever. Not the fullbacks. And what's happening is they're being stifled and being hemmed in a little bit. And he said, why? But I like get them out there, let them have the freedom of it. And I think that under this manager, and in one of the criticisms there, I don't think we've got enough flexibility from our front three. And I don't think that's helping them perform. I think you've got to let them, as we said earlier on, off the leash, just go and do what you want to do. I wouldn't mind seeing them changing over. Like 1 minute you saw, all of a sudden you're watching the game and all of a sudden Pepe's popping up on the left and Saka on the right. It's easy for them to do it.
If one's not getting any joy one side, you've seen all the great teams in the last 30, 40 years have done that, haven't they? If Ronaldo, Ronaldo wasn't getting any joy on the left, he would swap over with whoever was the other winger of the day at United. That was a standard Ferguson tactic, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I agree. I agree with that, and swapping it around and mixing it up a bit, it confuses the defence. But one thing I wanted to bring up, Russ, before I let Lee come in, was this Tierney business crossing the ball and no one's in the box. When we were speaking about it before, obviously Olivier Giroud was at the club, and now we've got Lacazette. We're now whacking balls in the box and no one's in there. Even Aubameyang at times isn't either. So that for me, that style, it just don't work. I mean, Ayo touched on it, to be fair, saying we're crossing the ball in the box and no one's there.
I actually watched Tierney closely yesterday when he was getting up to sort of the 25-yard line, and he was literally hooking the ball in. And I'm thinking to myself, this is an upside down club. It's been made upside down. It's never the jigsaw puzzle pieces are always sort of a little bit out of kilter. And when we had Giroud, we had the perfect target man, didn't we? Hold up player.
Yeah.
And we used to play it into his feet and then expect him to do 1-2s on the box and finish in the corner of the net with a death finish when that wasn't his game. His game in the last minute of games a lot of the time was to head the ball in from a lovely cross if we could get one in there. Now, we've got some lovely crosses being put in with either Lacazette, who's 5'10", or Aubameyang, who just doesn't fancy heading the ball one bit. He won't get in between defenders, will he, and put his head there 9 times out of 10. He just doesn't. He's not that sort of player.
No,
he's on the shoulder. He's on the shoulder counter-attacking player, and we're expecting him to do something that he cannot do. So it's like an upside down cake, isn't it? It's all been made. The recipe's always wrong. It's always arse about face, if you like. The recruitment. I honestly think we should have gone and got a really experienced centre forward, big man, plan B, old-fashioned.
Yeah, 100%. And I think other teams have got that, haven't they?
Lewandowski, if Lewandowski comes up next January, I think he's a free agent, isn't he? Next January.
Yeah.
Grab him. He's another Ronaldo. He's another bloke with a body of a 28-year-old. He's 33, 34 now. He lives right. He's a fan. Look at what he did against England the other day, single-handedly. He was brilliant for Poland. Absolutely brilliant. And he's a sort of signing, and that sort of signing would also bring money in because you see what happened with Ronaldo, 172 million quid worth of shirts in a week. It's paid for their whole playing staff for the year. It's paid all their wages for the year, basically. So,
do you think, though, Russ, that we're going to be ambitious enough to go for Lewandowski?
Listen, we need to be creative with a signing like that, in my opinion. And people don't come at me and say he's old, he's past it, he won't be able to do it in the Premier League. He does it in the Champions League every year. He scores loads of goals. He does it for a crap Poland team. Sorry to the Poles, compared to all the other top international sides. He does it in a poor side, and he would be a massive confidence boost to the other players in the team with the style of play we could adopt. His finishing is second to none, as you'll all agree. Someone of his ilk. That's
you're not actually saying Lewandowski, like he is someone of that ilk. I agree. You know what I mean? It's something like that.
Even an Ibrahimovic, someone like that. People say he's past it, but he can still finish if he's on the end of things.
Listen, he went to AC Milan when they weren't in Europe, by the way. People don't remember that, So I agree.
It might only be a 1-year fix, but it'll be a statement, wouldn't it? It'll be a statement of intent that you're trying to do something, and someone for the younger players in the club to look up to as well, as one of the other lads alluded to earlier. We haven't got that core of solid professionals that people look up to. We've got everyone learning, basically, and learning off one bad egg as well, which isn't very helpful.
I think we could have missed out on the trick with Edouard and all. I watched him. I know it's only Crystal Palace, but we've all been saying on here that he was a player that we should have probably gone for. And at the price it weren't like out of our reach. And I think that we may regret that one, if I'll be honest.
And the other one as well, which was a no-brainer to the whole Arsenal fan base, was Bissouma. Now, whether or not we were never in the running for him, we never inquired, or Brighton just said, no, you can have Ben White or Bissouma, you're not having both. Perhaps we needed Bissouma more than we needed Ben White.
Oh no, we really did, and that was for me the one priority signing was a partner for Thomas Partey, and Bissouma would have been that, and we missed out on that because we kept Granit bloody Xhaka. So that for me was.
Sorry to interrupt.
Go on, Russ.
On that note of people getting in each other's way when they're not quite synced, like the Pepe and Smith Rowe thing and the Saka and Smith Rowe thing. I think we've got the same problem in the middle of the field when we play both Party and Jack. I think they're going to get in each other's way. I just don't.
Well,
I just think they're too.
Jack is a statue, so yeah, he gets in everyone's way.
Sorry.
I said Jack is a statue, so he gets in everyone's way.
Well, yeah, that's true. He's a very slow-moving statue as well. Yeah, but you see what I'm saying, though? When they both play together, it's just like you might as well. I think that's why he's gone down the road of playing him on his own sometimes, because don't want to play them both together. I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong, but it just don't seem like the right fit to me to play them both together. It's like playing Xhaka and El Neni. Just don't.
Oh, it's awful.
It's not,
That
it's
is the
nothing
most.
there, is there?
That is
I
the
think
most
it-
negative
it's
midfield.
We've seen the days in those days.
That particular formation was once at Man United, when Man United were petrified of us for some reason and sat back and we sat back and it just cancelled each other out. You won't see that United again, that's for sure.
No.
yeah.
I've got to say that. Listen, I'm going to ask you this, Russ. What's going to make us fans excited now again? Because I look at Man United and a few of my Man United mates and everything like that. They were so excited about that game yesterday, because Ronaldo was coming back and the signings, not just Ronaldo, the signings that they've made. What is it going to do? What is it going to do? Is it going to be a new manager coming in, or is it going to be what is going to make us fans get excited?
Me personally, as a fan, I'd get excited if this owner goes. That's the only time I'll get excited, because I just see Groundhog Day recurring. I just don't see any hope for this football club with the self-sustaining model we run, and the people that are running it, that he lets run it. I just don't see us as fast as we're going. We're never going to catch up, because, as I said a few years ago, when we had that transfer window, when we signed Petr Cech, that was a massive, massive mistake. And I said at the time, that's when I first met you, mate. That's when I first met you.
Yeah, that was a day that turned for me.
That transfer window would end up costing us 300 to 500 million pounds. And what I meant by that, not just in lost revenues, but in transfers to catch back up again. Because I knew the TV money was coming in. I knew that players' prices were going to get more expensive, that British players' prices were going to get more expensive. And I'm not in the football business, but I'm just looking as an outsider at supply and demand and seeing that every other Premiership club was going to get a bigger kitty to work from, that they wouldn't have to sell their players to the likes of us. Look at the money you have to pay now for an English player from a rival Premier team. It's horrendous. So if you wanted to buy 6 or 7 players to make major surgery, you'd be looking at £350 million now. So, and plus the revenue that we've lost from not being in the Champions League for 4 years, which is probably approaching 300 million pounds alone for the loss of revenue in that. Why should I think that this ownership can give us excitement when they've just let us down Swanee River and lied to their team?
I've got to agree, obviously, Russ. I'm not a huge fan of the Cronkies, and I think that the fan base have got to try to unite, protest to get them out. But it's going to take a lot for that to happen. It seems that they're quite stubborn and they're here to stay currently at the moment. But I am totally 100% with you. Russ, you've been a legend, mate. You've been a star, as always. Really appreciate you coming on, mate. And we will certainly see more of you. And cheers for doing the fan cams, Russ.
And I'll see you next Saturday.
Pleasure knowing you, gentlemen. See ya.
Cheers for that, Russ.
Cheers, Russ.
Top man, Russ. Lee, we've come to an end. We've had our guests on. They've all been fantastic. It's great to hear some opinions, to be honest. And of course, they've now started the fan cams after games, so you'll get to know a lot of those faces as and when after the weekend. Before I let Lee Judges have the last word, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody in the chat. We've got another super chat I've just seen. So I'm going to read that out before we do go. James Fitzgerald, thanks for your kind donation. Lee, he said, I'm a Liverpool fan, but English football needs Arsenal at the top. Arsenal need leaders. They need to sign an experienced striker, an experienced midfielder. He says he's Irish and Shane Duffy is better than Ben White. Now, Shane Duffy and Lewis Dunk are old school defenders, aren't they? Ben White is much more of a ball-playing defender, so I think that's why we went for him. And obviously his ceiling is a lot higher being young and English. So that's why I think we went for him. But Duffy and Dunk, let's be honest, Lee, they've gone back to Brighton straight back in, and they both look solid again. So
Well, Brighton
it ain't
got the
going to
result
be
yesterday at Brentford, didn't they? Got the result
absolutely
at Brentford. You know,
something we couldn't do.
something that we couldn't do. But ultimately, look, listen, it's great that when you hear fans like Liverpool fans saying that they want Arsenal, because I don't care about what anybody says. Arsenal's a proper football club, like Liverpool are a proper football club. And you want Liverpool. Listen, you want it. You don't begrudge Liverpool the success they have because they do the things the right way. Proper football club, big club. You want to see Liverpool up there. You want to see Arsenal up there. You want to see Man United up there. You want to see that those big teams up there, as a neutral, that you want to as well. Like, you want to see the big teams performing and that, And unfortunately, Arsenal, like Liverpool in the past, have and Manchester United have had their struggles, and we're going through that struggling stage at the moment, and it's not nice. It's not nice.
It certainly isn't, and let's hope that it turns around. Thank you to everyone for coming on. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Over 700 of you watching live. Absolutely fantastic. If you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, that would be fantastic. Lead judges, I'll let you have the last word before we close.
Yeah, just want to say thanks to everybody in the chat, obviously, that's come in there and contributed, and also thanks to our guests today. Let us know if you want us to carry on doing this, because I really enjoyed it today, Dan, like getting different views and things like that, and we'll be getting a few more guests on. There was some good chats there, and I really enjoyed that. So thanks, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the show.
Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.